Welcome back to the Neutral Zone. I am your host, Danny LaCrosse. Yes, it's been a while since we've been aired, but I had some surgery going on. You know what? I'm back, and Bruin season is ongoing. And welcome back, James Quinn. Great to have you here. So first off, let's talk about last night's game. So Bruins lost after a winning streak. What do you think, Quinn?
It's nice to see them battle back last night. Got down early. Clawed their way back. Dirty goals. But one of the things I questioned was overtime. Coming out with Krug, Vetrano, and Spooner. Obviously, a lot more open ice there. But I don't know if Vetrano, that's a kid you put in that spot. You get Bergeron and Krejci averaging a point a game each. Put them out there. Marchand, he's on fire right now. He's scoring in streaks. He's a streaky player. I think that's a guy you got to have out there, in those crucial minutes in overtime.
Yeah, I mean, the Bruins have been, up and down since the season started. With this young team, so far, right now I think they're doing well, and in the beginning, they just kept losing, and I didn't see it, many wins coming in this year. I just thought it would be like another Red Sox season like this past season, but the young players are stepping up and doing what they should be doing, and they still got to work at it, and I mean, it can only get better, right?
Yeah, they were slow out of the gate, definitely to start. Those first three games were hard to watch as a fan of this team. But you did see some resiliency. You did see them turn it around. I think one of the biggest surprises, I know he started the game last night and they did eventually lose in overtime, is Gustafsson. When he's come in, he's played some very good games. Obviously, that Calgary game was a little disappointing, seeing him get pulled there. It is a tough place to play up in Canada, out west. You get the time zone difference. But that team was able to force overtime in that game. You're seeing this team battle and fight like you've seen successful Bruins teams do in the past. Going forward, if you can see that same resiliency, it's going to be big. They're going to be a borderline playoff team, but they're still missing, another top four defenseman, maybe even two, and they still really do lack that sniper. Marchand, again, he's been good, but I still think you need that just pure goal scorer that's going to go out there and, going to be a threat to score every time he touches the puck.
Yeah, and they also played Saturday afternoon, at 1 o'clock at the Garden. They played the Florida Panthers. It was what was it? Definitely a 3-1 victory. Ryan Spooner with 2 goals, and I believe Tuukka Rask with 26 saves. And according to Zdeno Chara, they got some breathing room going, and and several victories, but they still got to work at it.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good win. So NHL players will tell you it's the toughest time for them to play is these games. You don't get into that routine you have, the pregame meal, the pregame that morning skate coming up. It's you wake up, you eat, and you play. But it was, it's nice to see them win. That's 2 points you have to get. That's a division game, and that's a mediocre at best Florida team. I know Jaromir Jagr has turned a lot of heads this year as a surprise, Father Time, but those are 2 very important games you have to get. And Tuukka Rask, the last 5 games, he's been really good. He's given up 6 goals his past 5 games. One was in one of the games he came in relief in Calgary, he gave up 2, but he's shown that he's still one of the top goalies in the world. He had some early season struggles, but he seems to be picking it up, and they need him if they want to be successful, if they want to be a playoff team. It's going to come down to can Tuukka Rask play. And
I remember you saying in the first episode before the puck dropped was you don't play Tuukka Rask 70 games. And, Gustavin's, kind of been stepping up as that backup goalie. And, in the beginning of the season, Tuukka Rask had, a little bit of a slump going. But I feel like he's coming up and he's, making some good saves. And, also Gustavin, being that backup goalie, giving Tuukka Rask breathing room,
Yeah, Gustafsson's could definitely come in. He's played well. Obviously, the Calgary game was shaky for him. He played an all right game last night. I was actually surprised when he did get his first start against Colorado to start the season. He came in, he played well. I mean, playing in Colorado, it's a young, fast team. Bruins honestly don't match up very well with them because of that speed. But you know, he made the saves he needed to make sure they came out with the victory in that game, and he's done that, you know, in spots throughout the season. So if he, you know, can continue his resiliency and coming in and playing some big minutes for them and giving Tuukka that rest, so when you're playing, you know, these top division teams, Tuukka's well rested and he's ready to go. I think that's going to make a world of difference for this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we also had a victory against the Canadiens. You know, we've lost to them, you know, a couple of times this season already. But you know, it looks like with that win, it feels good. You know, going into the Winter Classic. And what are your thoughts about that game?
Definitely going into Montreal and getting 2 points is really big for this team. It's a big confidence boost. You had a kid like Ferraro score in that game. They were down 1-0 early on a fluke goal. Went off, you know, floating puck hit Trotman out front, and you know, it found its way to the back of the net. But that team continued to fight. They went up there. The Bell Center might be the toughest place to play in the NHL. But you know, they came out with the victory, and you know, it was nice to see Tuukka get a win against the Canadiens. I think going into that game, he had 3 wins and 11 regulation losses. So to see him go in there and, you know, have a good game, make a lot of big saves was very important. David Krejci in that game, I thought, you know, the Canadiens took him out. I think that was their game plan. They punished him every time he took the puck. So it was nice to see, you know, those depth forwards come in and score at the most opportune times they could. I mean, without that, yeah, you don't pull out that game. And hockey's a sport where you can't just rely on that one guy to go out there and score points for you every night. But David Krejci is having a great season. He's another player, you know, it's going to make a big difference moving forward. Yeah,
and with that victory, I feel pretty good about, you know, January 1st, you know, at Gillette Stadium. By the way, Winter Classic is January 1st of the year, so go home and watch it. You know, there's nothing else better to do than watch the Winter Classic and have the Bruins win a victory against our rivalry, the Montreal Canadiens.
Best rivalry in hockey. There's the alumni game the day before too. Sergei Samsonov will make his return to Black and Gold. Should definitely check that out.
All right, and also you got these, you know, we got Patrice Bergeron, you know, leading points on the Bruins, David Krejci, Louis Eriksson, Brad Marchand, and also Zdeno Chara, you know, all you know, veterans on the Boston Bruins. Actually, not Louis Eriksson, but you know, these guys, you know, leading the team to these new guys that we have here. What do you think about these points? You know, actually, you know, what surprised me is Brad Marchand, you know, stepping up.
Yeah, it's nice to see the goal production coming from someone. He is streaky. But when he's on, he's on. He's putting the puck in the net. He was streaky during that 2011 playoff run, and you know, he made a world of difference. And he's scored some big goals, big times. He had that penalty shot against Calgary. I mean, that was awesome. You can't beat somebody coming up clutch like that. It's a big time to score. They battled back in that game. Obviously, it didn't end the way Bruins fans wanted, but he's definitely scored at big times, and you appreciate that out of your players. David Krejci is another one. He's a point-a-game player along with Bergeron. So it's nice to see, you know, Krejci's really stepped up his game this year, and then with Bergeron, he's what makes Brad Marchand go. That line, they have great chemistry, and they're accountable in their own zone, which keeps Claude Julien happy.
Exactly. You know, these veterans make the team, you know, successful. But you know, it's a team effort, so you know, you got to give credit to everyone. But going around on the NHL, we did talk about, you know, also in the first episode of the year was, you know, Stamkos. I came across this news article, Steve Stamkos, you know, getting a contract renewal July of 2016, and I had second thoughts, and I do agree with you, Quinn, that I can see him moving on. TSN tweeted, you know, something like, what if Toronto picked him up, and he liked the tweet, and then it became into a story. So, Quinny, I do agree with you that, I could see Steve Stamkos moving on to a different organization. If you want to add anything to that, I just thought I would bring that up. But
Yeah, one of the things also too is Tampa is off to a slow start. So maybe he becomes more of a valuable asset in the trade market because they do have a young, fast, skilled team. They got a good goalie, and they're going to have to renew a guy like Victor Hedman. He's one of the top 5 defensemen in the NHL already, still in his early 20s. And you're going to see Tyler Johnson get a big jump in his contract too. So they're going to have to pick and choose who they want to keep. I think if you're Tampa, you keep Hedman, and you have Bishop back there, and then you build around a more skilled group of forwards rather than having that one superstar. I think you've seen it work. So a team like Los Angeles, 2 Stanley Cups, and obviously with Chicago, you have an elite superstar, one of the top 5 skilled players in the world, Patrick Kane, but a guy like Jonathan Toews really makes that go, that can play in his own end. So I could see Tampa, trying to move on from him. I mean, if they can get something valuable for him, but I would not be surprised if they held on to him, especially if this team gets hot and he just hits the market. He's going to at least match the Kane and Toews contracts when he reaches free agency this summer.
Speaking of Patrick Kane, what do you think about that 26-point streak going? He beat Sidney Crosby there. So what do you think about that? That's unbelievable.
It's awesome. He seems really focused on playing hockey this year, and it's just showing his play. Even beginning of the season, when there were a couple games he didn't have points against the Flyers, he hit a couple posts. He's really he's working that Panarin, the rookie he's playing with. He's making him go too. He's just unreal as far as his skill, his hands, his speed go. A couple of the point streak's a little infatuated when he has gotten a couple of those games. He's scored empty net assist, empty net goal, stuff like that. But he's really finding his offense this year, and it's going to be fun to see what happens in that Central Division when you have teams like Chicago and Dallas battling out run and gun teams that can play.
And speaking of that, Patrick Kane and then Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin, who are on Dallas, they're the leading pointers here, the top 3 leading pointers here. Dallas is on a roll. They're number 1 in the Central Western Conference.
And 1 in the NHL too, actually.
Okay. And
yeah, they're good.
Tyler Seguin is stepping up to the plate. He used to be a Bruins, and also agreeing with you that he didn't want to be here. He's stepping up his game, but I'm wondering if he's going to get another ring going on. But never know. But he's doing well in points right now.
He is. He's tearing it up. Him and Jamie Benn both 40 points in 30 games, which is really good in the NHL with how hard it is to score in this league now. I think Jamie Benn is what makes that team go though. Jamie Benn never quits on a play. He goes in the corners. He bangs bodies. He's tough. And then you match that with a guy that's as skilled as Seguin. I think you've seen a lot more maturity in his play. He's taken the body more, but that team offensively is really good. They got a guy like Klingberg playing back there at the point. He's good. He's a point of game player as a defenseman. So it'll be interesting to see. What actually is going to be really fun to watch too is the new All-Star format when they're playing the 20-minute games. Each All-Star team will be aligned with players from their division, not their conference, and it's 3-on-3. So you're going to have the potential, whoever the central coach will be. I'm going to guess it's going to be Quinville. They can put Kane, Benn, and Seguin out there at the same time on a 3-on-3, and that's going to be some fun hockey to watch.
That's going to be like a dream line right there.
Yeah,
dream team.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of skill, and you're going to have Duncan Keith's going to make that team too. But Dallas, they got their top 6 forwards might be the best in the NHL right now. Spezza's going, and Patrick Sharp's jumped in. He's made some solid contributions. He scored some timely goals. They battled back against Carolina a few weeks ago. I believe they were down 5-1. They came back and won that game 6-5 in regulation. So they're going to be a fun team to watch. Whether they can keep this consistency up through the season, yet to be known. They are playing in one of the toughest divisions in hockey with them, Chicago, St. Louis, and those are all teams that are going to fight for playoff spots.
I agree. I can definitely see Dallas going into the playoffs, Montreal going into the playoffs. I still can see the Bruins making the playoffs, but they're still a building team, so I don't know. But, I always have faith in my Boston Bruins, but I can definitely see these top teams with, top players like Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, Patrick Kane, and so on and so forth. But also around the league, there was some news talked over the summer, but, I just picked it up recently, is it's a slow process, but I wanted to bring it up as a couple of teams getting added, down in Vegas and Quinnipiac. I don't know if you heard about that, Quinny. If you want to quickly talk about that.
Yeah, they're talking about, I know, Seattle. Seattle's up, Las Vegas, and Quebec City. I know they're talking about teams like that. It'll be interesting to see whether they move, because these, like a team going to Vegas, I mean, that they've tried this Florida Panthers experiment, and it's there's talk about that franchise possibly moving to one of these destinations, and you saw Atlanta move. It's going to be interesting to see what their projections are and what they want to do. I actually know Hartford, Connecticut wanted a team, but to even qualify, there's a certain number of attendance you need from a team in the AHL, and that they have to reach. And I know the Connecticut Whale, their attendance isn't very well. Who's associated with the New York Rangers? So we'll see. I'd actually rather see them take away teams than add teams, just because I think it would make lesser teams would make more skill in the league.
Like have the original 6 going, or
I mean, you'd have 6 all-star teams, but not to that
extent.
Yeah. I think Seattle would be the best option.
I had some ups and down thoughts about it. But, you can see more players from the AHL coming up with these new teams, but you also have to spread around, veteran players that, like to make it even enough. But, also, and it's a slow process. You never know if it's going to happen or not. But I definitely wanted to bring it up, see what your thoughts were. I have mixed thoughts about it personally, but we'll see what happens when the time comes or down the road. But right now, I feel pretty comfortable with what we have.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the league in the shape it is now, especially in a market like Boston. Trying to get to a game now is pretty expensive.
It is.
It's good. It's good for the city. It means people are starting to care more.
The security's definitely higher. Sad to say, stuff going on in the world, but that's just life sometimes. But the Bruins organization is definitely one of the oldest original 6 organizations, and it's awesome to go to a game. It's definitely tough. Even I tried to look for tickets for the Winter Classic, and that's hard.
Yeah, they're expensive. It's about $200 to sit in the nosebleeds, and I imagine those prices are only going up.
I know. Also, do lose my train of thought, but so November had its up and downs. Definitely more losses than wins, but December is looking pretty balanced right now. But November was like a tough month for the Bruins. Adjusting. I know Claude Julien was trying to adjust with the lines during practice. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I mean, he can only play with the players that are available to him at this moment. I think if he is trying to make this more of a skilled team, he's got to have more skilled players. At times Spooner's been really good on this team, and you're getting to see why he's believed to be a future elite talent in this league. Going forward, you do want to see some balance, maybe with some size, but the defenseman is really what they need. They need a strong 4th defenseman back there. They need somebody that's going to take people out in front of the net, which has been an issue, but he's also got to be confident with the puck. He doesn't need to go out there and be a 40-point scorer from the point, but whoever they bring in needs to be somebody that can make a difference in his own zone.
Do you think we should pick up a stronger defenseman? Or
Yeah, I think definitely defenseman's the biggest need right now. I think they're asking a lot out of a young group with not a lot of NHL experience. Krug, he's moving the puck back there, but you'd like somebody with probably a little bit more size and is more accountable in front of his own net. Offensively, he's great. He's one of the better power play players in the entire league. But Seidenberg and Chara are getting older. I like what I've seen out of Seidenberg since he came back from his injury, but he's been battling injuries. It seems like the last couple of years. He had that torn ACL a couple of years ago, and I think they missed him deeply in the playoffs when they're playing Montreal, that fast team. And you can't expect Zdeno Chara to go out there and play 30 minutes a night anymore. I mean, he takes away that ice for 30 minutes for the most part, but they need somebody out there that can do well. They're asking a lot out of a kid like Kevin Miller, and Kevin Miller, he's done some things right, but sometimes he's made some bad turnovers. I think that's going to change the more he plays, but with this roster, it's just tough to decide. Are they in between? Are they rebuilding right now, or are they, those couple players away from being, one of these top teams in the league?
Yeah, for a rebuilding team, we're doing pretty well. Rough start, but I'll give them a lot of credit. They have stepping up as we move on in the games. Speaking of defense, but Pittsburgh traded Rob Scuderi
to former Boston College Eagle.
Fun fact, I didn't know that. But to Chicago in exchange for defenseman Trevor Daley. I think Chicago, I don't know what they were really thinking, but I think they wanted a stronger defenseman. I don't know. I didn't read too much about that trade, but figured I'd.
Well, it's kind of interesting to see what Pittsburgh's going to be doing moving forward, because they just fired their coach, Mike Sullivan, former Bruins coach, before the lockout.
I also read about that. Yeah.
He's now behind the bench. Disappointing game last night, lost 4-1 in Washington. And Pascal Dupuis, who had been a top 6, top 9, borderline player on that team, actually just had to retire at the beginning of this month because of a blood clot condition. But Crosby, he started off slow. He wasn't putting up his point numbers. Malkin, the same thing. He seems to be picking up his play a little bit more. But coming into the season, people were talking about how good this team was going to be. You have Crosby, you have Malkin, you have Kunitz, and then you add a player like Phil Kessel. What would they be like moving forward? Like, are they going to be this elite scoring team? And they have, on paper, they should be, but they just can't seem to put it together consistently.
So going back to the goalies, what do you think of Gustavsson as a backup goalie?
I definitely think he's going to make a difference out there. He's going to give Tuukka his rest in spots. It still comes down to how well will Tuukka Rask play. Lately, he seems to be playing very, very well. It's can he keep this up? Is he going to get enough rest to be the end of the season when you're fighting for division standings and points to maybe even just get into the playoffs? How effective can he be? Is he going to be tired? He was pretty open about it last year, saying he was fatigued, he was drained, and I think the team suffered, especially down the stretch, because they should have been in the playoffs, if they had some consistency over the last month of the season, but they didn't. They were losing close games, or seemed to be falling apart at the end of games. So it'll come down to how effective Gustafsson can be when they do put him in there. I mean, he's already got he's already started 9 games. He's been pulled once, which you never like to see your goalie get pulled, but sometimes it's just a wake-up call for your team.
I agree with you. I do feel that the Bruins are much stronger in the third period this season than last season, but also I did remember we talked about Claude Julien on the trial period. and rumors going around that around Thanksgiving he might be moving on, but I really don't think that's coming because I feel like he's doing a pretty good job with this veteran / new roster building process. But I don't know. What do you think about it?
I've been happy with the job he's done so far this season. I still think if this team loses 5 games in a row, I think you'll see him cut quickly. I think he's going to be in the hot seat this entire season. It'll come down to if this team makes the playoffs, he'll have his job. If they're successful in those playoffs, still. If they miss, I think he's gone regardless. If they show up in the first round, they get bounced 4 or 5 games. I think he'd lose his job definitely that way too. He is trying to adjust. He's trying to make some changes out there to have this team be more effective, and trying to use a guy like Spooner to bring some success to this team. Use his skill set opposed to the players he had in the past. They still need to, I think, add some more speed. I think what you've seen out of Vetrano and Ferraro is promising from your depth forwards, but I think they still need some speed up front. So it'll come down to that. They still have some forwards that aren't the fastest, but they have some size to them. And again, I hate to bring it back up again, but that defenseman, I'm just fixated on that. They need to have a top 4 defenseman added to this roster. But as far as going back to the skill, David Pastrnak, there's no timetable as a return, but I think he's going to be effective when he comes back. It's going to take him a few games, I think, to get started, but hopefully, he's getting the treatment right now to come back and be almost 100%.
I totally agree with you. Let's quickly take a look at the end of December and the beginning of January. Just quick brief. We got the Penguins, and then the Penguins again, Devils, Blues, Sabres, Senators, and also the Senators, and that's to the end of December. And then 1st of January is at Gillette, and then New Jersey, Ottawa, I think that's New York Rangers, Philadelphia, and Buffalo. So, that's just the first of the year, end of the year schedule for you very quickly. And Quinny, I just wanted to ask you just a quick, see if you know your Bruins trivia real quick before we head out. I'm pretty sure you do know. So quickly, which team did the Boston Bruins defeat in the 1970 Stanley Cup Finals?
That would be the Blues in 70, and they beat the Rangers in 72.
I just had St. Louis Blues, and you're totally right. When did Ray Bourque change his jersey number from 70 to 77?
87?
Yep. Jeez.
Ever watch the tape on that? It's very, very emotional. Taking off the 7 jersey for Phil Esposito and retiring it.
I'm going to have to watch that.
Yeah, it's good. It's almost as good as Ray Bourque raising the Stanley Cup with Colorado, unfortunately. But
what is Boston Bruins' greatest rivalry?
Oh, it's Montreal Canadiens. Finally, it's the Winter Classic.
In what year did the Bruins form as an official team?
Ooh.
That's a tough one, but see if you know it.
1928?
1924.
Oh.
And then what's Terry O'Reilly's
The Tasmanian Devil?
Yep. And then if you can name all the years Boston Bruins won the Stanley Cup.
29, 39, 41, 70, 72, and 2011. Only one I was alive for.
All right, you're officially a hardcore Bruins fan. Well, that wraps up tonight's episode of The Neutral Zone. I am finally back, and we won't see you until next year, so have a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. I am Danny LaCrosse with James Quinn here, and have a wicked awesome week, wicked awesome weekend. Go Pats, and especially go Bruins.